All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Monday afternoon, December 12th. Hopefully, this time all around with audio. Great to see all of us live inside the Cyber Group room. We have Roger, Ravina, Chuck, Andre, Lawrence, Ron, Michael, and all of us just joining us there, loud and clear from them, which was the case in the morning. But the big question is, do we have audio on social media, Facebook Live, or YouTube? Hey, for any of us, at least on YouTube, you can hear me. Type letter Y just in the YouTube chat, just so I know that you folks can hear me. A little bit of an audio issue from earlier, internet issue. It actually altogether was. So, should be good to go. I ended up switching computers after resetting everything, and with that, I got the green light. We are good to go, folks. So, with that, let's hop right into it. PIK making a big pop right now. Hey, it was kind of sleepy mid-afternoon so far. We'll talk about the markets, the SPY in just a moment. But, hey, I just saw this a moment ago, just called it out right before we started this meeting. It's really our first look at this trade. Otherwise, hey, it looks pretty sharp for us heading into the afternoon. You have an iceberg order for about 10 or 11,000 shares there at 127. So, yeah, for the meantime, we'll start by putting this PIK trade at least on our watch list. As we've seen today, not all of these are going to withstand the test of time, and we're going to see a lot of these dump back down pretty shortly afterwards, right? So, let's at least talk about a couple of those to begin, then otherwise we'll just jump back from the top. So the HARP trade, one of those that ended up ultimately dumping off, but ended up having a nice pop shortly after the open. We took full advantage of the initial breakout, but it's after it got halted and reopened up that actually led to another great trade on the stock heading into the mid to late morning. So that was roughly off of 240. And, we talked about this type of print in class just a few weeks ago in the phase 2. But when a stock gets halted and it reopens up, it has what I'll kind of nickname the opening halt print. And with that, we ended up seeing that from earlier at 240. Well, it broke below 240. It was pinning under it for a little while here. And just, hey, the more and more it tests that level, you'd like to think eventually it's going to make a strong reaction off that price, not just like hold around there. So, that could be a false breakout and it dumps immediately back down. You got to be careful for that. Well, here ended up having a couple of false shakes, but eventually prior to 11 o'clock, ended up having the real break, the run off that 240 level, made nearly $1 move up. And then eventually, unfortunately, the wheels fell off. So right now, this is just dragging back down now. This HARP trade, I don't think I've ever really traded the stock over the years, months, years here. So, prior to today, this stock is trading about 100, 200,000 shares roughly on average. That's very low. That's poor. So, makes sense. Pop and drop type of stock. So it wouldn't shock me if this continues to dump off later on or otherwise gaps down come the after hours. All right. We had a couple of other movers here. The APVO from pre-market had it on our morning watch list. Ended up doing all right in pre-market, but really after the open, it got crushed, dumped off. Now, at that point, it kind of looks like a bad chart, right? Can't short this thing. So it ended up just dropping down. It sliced right under 6. Never broke back above it really at the time, just broke under it and just kept on dropping, right? Rob F. and I were watching that in the chat board earlier, and there's no entry. You can't just catch the falling knife. But Rob ended up picking up about 25 or 30 cents on it, as did I. Led to a nice trade off of $5. The more it drops, you got to wonder when is it going to begin to squeeze back up and potentially go all the way back up. This obviously did not go all the way back up, but, essentially ended up bottoming out off the 5 level right here, right after 10 o'clock. This was the bounce that Rob and I caught, but otherwise ended up holding over 5 later on. Still looks interesting so long as it could hold 5, but you don't want to really just keep waiting for that, right? Because eventually it just looks like lower highs are going to equate to lower lows, and it's just going to keep dropping. So just be mindful of that. I ended up putting a line at 465 here. So that was a bit of a level we had back from July time, August time as a clean resistance. So that would be interesting to see that price get tested as support. So for right now, I'm not like really particular about this one right now. And then finally, as we just go from top to bottom in a moment here, the HTGM. You could see after the open, didn't really do as much. It popped and it got halted on the way up there, but we're normally waiting the first 3 to 5 minutes anyway. It was a great pre-market trade prior to 8 o'clock, and it ended up making for a great trade heading into the mid-morning, or at least after 10 o'clock Eastern. It ended up eventually bottoming out, led to a nice bounce back up, got halted actually one more time there. But again now. I mean, this stock normally doesn't trade 130 mil a day. So same to be said here, as I just said on APVO. Eventually, once the wheels fall off and the volume truly wanes down, you don't want to hope and hold. I mean, again, last one I'll go through, and then we'll go from top to bottom. How about TNXP? Case in point, right? So I think there was some news that came out on this thing. I mean, this is like a continuous like pump and dump type of stock. I didn't mean to make this the daily, but you could just see over time from the beginning of 2021 pumped up, pulled back, and those weren't the true numbers at the time. This stock has been through a few different reverse stock splits since that time. So that's where you got to be careful. There's a reason why a company does a reverse stock split to begin with, and this company, like these pharma companies, tend to do them over and over. So the reason why they do that is to remain above NASDAQ or NYSE listing requirements. Not a good sign for a swing trade, right? Not a good sign to hold on to a stock like this. So it ended up pumping up early in the morning. I think Chris and a couple of us called it out at first. Great call, but ended up completely dumping off afterwards, right? So that's that. Let's go from top to bottom. Otherwise, folks, there's definitely a couple of things moving well still. Actually, we'll say the SPY has gone utterly nowhere since 11 o'clock Eastern time. It's been slowly grinding up, if you even want to call it that, but more of a sideways trend. I believe the Fed meeting is this week, if I'm not mistaken. Then along after that, I think the CPI data comes out later on this week too. There's a lot going on. So I think there's going to be some big hesitation within the market from this point going forward, or otherwise maybe sell off. All right, so HTGM, we already talked about. I skipped the top two here. Otherwise, cheapies below $1. We're not going to really scan for those, focus on those at first. CJJD, this thing's been on a huge tear, really dating back to Friday last week, but continued to gap up this morning, grind it up, and then just popped earlier. I'd called this out prior to the 2:30 meeting as well. I wasn't in this at the time, but just saw it pop up on my Benzinga radar. So a lot of us, like John and Robert Ravina, knew that the stock was moving prior to us beginning this meeting. It's just got a thin book and a bit of a spread right now. So I'm really not a fan of that. There's a stock that I'm forgetting off the top of my head right now. We traded it like 2 weeks ago that, a few of us were harping on over and over after, and rightfully so, because there's always a chance. But that stock had such thin liquidity. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's this KTRA. I mean, look at this as a swing trade. I think this is it. I mean, hell of a move the last 2 weeks, but the stock's trading 115,000 shares right now. There's nothing happening here as a day trade. There's no smart money, big money trading this type of stock. So yeah, I'm going to pass on, that other one right now at least. But yeah, I mean, KTRA has been a nice little swing trade in hindsight, but that's not what we were necessarily gunning for on that one either. All right, how to pop on Acer just as I started this meeting. I didn't check the chart out. I saw it from Benzinga from the corner of my eye about like 3 minutes ago. So obviously, as we could see now, this thing ended up just exploding. Ended up having a nice push throughout the late morning to, really the entire afternoon to this point. So let me actually pull this up on level 4 Bookmap. It can't show it for us inside the trading room. I'm on a separate computer right now, so I'm just going to kind of keep it on this screen. But just so you folks are aware, bit of an order on the ask, roughly off of 336. You could see it on the matrix even. There really isn't much resistance on this trade above that, though. It doesn't mean that it's going to continue, though. That's the thing, right? There could be a new order that pops up on the ask that could drive this down much lower from this point. This could be at the top of the ride. Given where it's at right now, at least, I'll put this on our main list here, the Acer trade. Hopefully it ends up holding higher lows over time. APVO, we talked about, holding over 5. So unless if you're hoping and praying that it just, holds above that, then there's not really much else to focus on that stock. The EH, we didn't really talk about this one until now. So EH, Rich had called this one out earlier heading into the late morning, and it's only been pushing up higher since. So, at first it was like kind of trading a little low volume, but really after like 11 o'clock, 11:30, more volume started getting traded on it, ended up eventually breaking higher and then testing 10. So really from that point, a lot more came in actually, but, ended up just continuing this grind up and up and up. I don't really have any key levels on this one either. I don't don't have this up on my level 4 right now, but one thing I can at least show you, I put this up earlier. You know, I don't always use fibs, and where to put the bottom and the top is always like an debate. So I never like to get into that. But whenever there's good use case for it, I'll look to use either fib retracements, fib extensions, or fib channel. But with that though, I was calling out earlier, and maybe I can make this a little bit better, but roughly around that 1070-ish, 1065-ish. I was calling that out as a level just with this fib set in mind. It just broke below it. It's holding it now as resistance. Again, this could be the top of the ride here off 11, now making the lower high off the fib level. I'll come back to this even by the end of this meeting. Hopefully it ends up breaking above it soon, but it's not as good of a sign for continuation. All right, now I'll tell you what, that was really the top of the gainers list. We like to kind of put all of those under a good microscope, and we'll continue to skim through, at least for right now. We'll just jump to the rent stock here, RENT. This is also one that we've been pretty familiar with from last week, and I shouldn't have kept taken my eyes off this thing. Ended up breaking a new high just before, off 290, and really smooth sailing right now. So I kind of cherry picked this one, at least. I wasn't expecting this to be at the highs as much right now, but it's a stock that we were familiar with from last week. Mind you, also one on a really good order book, really good spread, filled in order book, big iceberg right off the high here at 320. So that's our key resistance to work off of for right now. Definitely, I'm going to focus on this rent trade, put this on the top of our watch list here. The Bivy trade. Same with this, as I said, on KTRA. Just one of these like cheap pharma stocks or therapeutic stocks coming off of news. And if the order book is not very liquid or consistently liquid, it makes it a much tougher trade to follow day to day, and just expect for that stock to be as opportunistic for you to make money on, compared to the day before. So with that, I mean, hey, Bivy ended up squeezing up from last week, would have made a great bounce off of 5, and we had called it out a few times, of course, as a day trade, from there. But today, at least, we didn't really have our eyes on it as much at first. I know Roger ended up getting 15 cents or so on it just earlier as it was beginning to bounce off the 9 level. Again, though, thin order book, not too particular about that part, so I'll pass. As TGTX has been finding its way on the losers list some days, the gainers list some days, had a big pop mid-November, then pulled back. Now, at least today, at the highs of the day right now. So this looks more interesting to me, so long as this can continue to make a higher low and then push back up towards the 850. But yeah, TGTX, I like this one. All right, what else we got here, folks? What else we got? I think that might just wrap up the gainer side. Hey, the markets are still grinding and inching their way up right now. SPY's at the high of the day. Would be nice to have a nice little pop. Anything more than what we're getting right now. It's been a grind. All right, PGY. I don't know why I'm clicking on this below $1. I reckon it's because we're familiar with the name, but all right, let's hop over to the losers list, see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better, from there. I'll be honest with you, I can tell right away, not a whole lot stands out to me. SMMT, I'll just take a really brief look at, but it's dumping off. You can't short it. KPTI, flat. HUYA stock from, last week and a half, that squeezed up Chinese stock. And, I reckon you could short it, but not much opportunity there, I see. TAL. I'm not even going to click that BZUN. Let's go to Billy. BILI. I saw that just kind of lingering there, down over 12%. Took a huge hit from this morning, and actually shortable on TradeStation this morning as well. I guess I missed that, but led to a nice drop from our side list. For as much as it pumped up over the last couple of weeks, you had to have expected another big down day at some point in time. Not to say today per se, but just dropped off right away. Ended up bouncing even after that 10:30 time. It was around 11:30, 11:45 before it bounced, and now at this point just pretty flat. Got Momo. Momo we had on our watch list here, I think, this morning, right? And with that, we were hoping to see support build off of 835, 833, and it did at first, but never ended up making that big slingshot that we wanted. Ended up breaking below 835, 833, and completely tanked. Ended up being a really good short trade in hindsight from that point. But, we'll keep this on our side list. Maybe tomorrow morning, check it out. At some point this week, check it out. But pass on here. All right, folks, let me know if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you'd want me to look at. Finally got the audio working on YouTube and Facebook Live. Again, that was a bit of an internet issue I had this morning. Just had to reset, take about 15 minutes, reboot everything. I was good to go. Mike's saying slow mover, UA or UAA? See, I'm not a fan of slow on days like today. It's like if I put this on the watch list, I got to put everything else that looks like this on the watch list. American Airlines, NCLH. So I'm going to pass right there, Mike. Let's see if there's anything looking, not to say like crazy pump and dump volatile, but a little bit faster, This is not cutting it here, BIMI. So not a whole lot happening on that one. DAKT, I think that was one from last week. I forgot to go over from the morning. Trying to eke up a little bit right now, but I'm not sold on that. Seal. This is one from the past that we've ended up trading like years past or over the past year or so. It looks like it's breaking above the highs from last week already. It's up over 11% today, at the highs right now. My gripe on it is that it's like barely trading above the minimum that we look for at this time right now, just barely over 500,000 shares. So it does have a good order book. It is pretty liquid. So for that reason, I'll slip this just on the back end. Seal. HTGM trying to go back up again. I was calling out support off of 127 to 130. I took a 3-cent loss a little bit earlier prior to 2 o'clock. And, it never really made that move at the time. So could this be it? Right place, wrong time, maybe, right? Hey, we ended up trading HTGM from the morning. Again, it's trading over 131 million shares right now. So I'd like to think this stock would be exhausted at this time of the day. I would like to think it wouldn't make another slingshot up higher, really. But you know what? Where we talk about, low risk, high risk, volatile, liquid order books and all that, if this had any thinner of a book or, bigger of a spread, I would not put this back on our list. But otherwise, so long as you set your stop and have a tight stop, conservative stop, it's a level 1 trade, right? So only if this could hold over support off of like 127-ish or so, I'd say this is going to be a good stock to put on our watch list. If it breaks below that, then we move on. Levi from Andre. Levi is up over 3%, but it's at the highs, and I appreciate him making that shout there. It's not trading a whole lot of volume per minute right now, so we talk about this a lot in our classes in terms of what to scan for. We're actually going to be doing that next week live for the December Phase 1 stock course. Obviously, hyping up a big bookmap basics class that I'm teaching for the first time in Phase 1 there. But on top, we're going to go through our usual scanning classes too. So, one quick tip. We want to have a stock that's near at the highs. This is a great stock to look at then, right? Let's incorporate volume next. How much volume is this stock trading per minute? Is this stock really making a volatile move? It's having a good day. But, if there were more volume traded on this stock, if it was up more percentage-wise, I think it would have more eyeballs on it going forward. Hey, we'll put this on our side list. Tradable by all measures. So good shout from Andre, but I don't know if this is going to have enough juice to like really make it attractive of a move for us to, make money on. We'll see, though. I'll put this on our side list, though. I'm definitely going to write this one down here just to wrap things up on our side. Last one, it was on our side list, I said, the EH trade. Pretty thin on the order book. You don't know if this is going to maintain a penny spread like you're seeing. So, just be careful. But it does look like it's trying to push back up towards that fib level again, roughly around that 1070-ish, 1065, 1070-ish there. So for right now, I'll put this on our list. If it ends up false breaking here, head faking us and coming back down, then it could be a much better short opportunity taking you into the close. But let's respect the potential breakout of this fib line here and see if this can keep pushing. All right, folks. I appreciate the couple of our coaching or a couple of our students here that were patient enough with me and flexible enough on their schedules to push their coaching sessions to Wednesday and Thursday this week. So, again, I had some big internet issues earlier today, messed me up quite a bit. I ended up giving a lot of profit. I had a really good morning. I gave a lot of profit back, though, heading into the late morning, the early afternoon. And then I said, all right, you know what? The hell with this. I got to reboot everything, get everything set back up. So I'll tell you what, aside from a coaching call I have at 3 p.m., I think I'm going to stick around until 4 p.m. today, folks. I'll be in the chat board up until the close, I believe. I got to make my money back. So, it's still in the green, but I was doing pretty good. It was like really continuous from last week, and I gave a lot back. I don't feel good about that. I want to close out nice. All right, folks. So you're going to have me in the chat board up until the close for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube. I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day, and at least from Friday morning and this morning, at least for the morning sessions there. If you have any questions, feel more than free to send over a quick email. Let's hope my email can get sent there in the chat board there this time. Josh@ctutrading.com. There you go. If you were interested in joining our live trading room, continuing our audio commentary, whether it be today, tomorrow, or for next week, just make sure that you go right down to the link on the yellow banner below the stream right there. Just make sure that you call our office as well. If you're looking to start on a specific day, they'll be able to adjust that for you just right from our side. So that's our office phone number right there, U.S. phone number right there, just in the stream as well. All right, so with that in mind, for Grant, Lita, Andre, happy birthday, Lita, once again. For Grant, Lita, Andre, Lawrence, Michael, John, Brian, and all of us here live, Ravina included. Rich will be on the mic at 3 p.m., but again, I'll be in the chat board up until the close today, folks, so we'll see what we have cooking. All right, take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.